Dealers across the country are in full-on panic mode, and most riders don't even know why yet. 5 motorcycle brands are quietly stepping back from the American market, pulling inventory, shrinking dealer coverage, and leaving service departments scrambling to fill the gaps. The signs are everywhere: empty crates, discontinued models, and technicians being told not to expect replacement parts anytime soon. Tonight, we're breaking down exactly what's driving this retreat, how dealers are responding, and the impact it's about to have on riders nationwide. Watch until the end, because the 5th brand is the one nobody thought would ever leave. Number 5. Victory. Few stories in American motorcycling sting quite like the one behind this forgotten contender. The brand arrived with purpose, carried weight, and refused to imitate anything that came before it. It was built by a company that wanted to prove American riders deserved more than recycled ideas and familiar silhouettes. Victory existed to challenge the old assumptions, to push engines harder, and to give riders a machine that felt modern without abandoning the grit that defines long-distance American riding. It rode into the market with its shoulders squared, ready to earn respect rather than inherit it. From the beginning, the brand carried an undercurrent of defiance. Victory did not have the luxury of nostalgia to lean on. It had no heritage museums, no decades of parade rides, no back catalog of iconic frames. Instead, it built its identity on engineering. The machines were firm, planted, and free of unnecessary complication. Riders who chose one often described the decision as a break from tradition, not a rebellion, but a quiet acknowledgement that something different could still feel American. The brand offered a kind of mechanical honesty, clean power delivery, strong lines, minimal chrome unless it mattered. A rider could sense the intention behind each design, and that intention resonated with those who valued practicality and straightforward performance. Victory owners often spoke about the way the machines carried their weight. The bikes could hold a long highway line without wandering. They did not rattle or chatter under load. They felt balanced at speed and confident in crosswinds. That stability earned the brand a reputation among riders who put real miles behind them. These were not machines crafted for short coffee runs or dealership parking lot admiration. They belonged on open roads, pulling hard through the long straights, settled and steady beneath a rider who understood how a bike should behave when the miles stretch on. What set Victory apart was the feeling that every model had been shaped by people who actually rode. There was no sense of compromise, driven by committees or marketing trends. The brand seemed to answer questions many American riders had quietly asked for years. Why not build a frame that could take real punishment without flexing? Why not design a machine that runs cool and stays consistent under pressure? Why not offer reliability in a segment often more focused on lineage than improvement? Victory worked to give those answers physical form, and for a period of time, the market responded. Riders who purchased these machines often described themselves as independent thinkers. They respected the long-standing names in American motorcycling, but wanted something that felt more in line with modern expectations. They wanted strong performance without corporate bravado, comfort without shouting, substance without an appeal to nostalgia. For them, Victory was a clean slate. There was a sense of pride in choosing a machine not because of what it represented in the past, but because of what it delivered in the present. Yet even with all the engineering merit, the brand's path was shaped by forces larger than performance alone. Though the machines built a loyal following, they did not carry the deep cultural imprint that anchors other American names. Without a nationwide dealership backbone strong enough to weather fluctuations, Victory faced pressure that had little to do with mechanical quality. Riders could love the machine, but they still needed confidence that service, parts, and long-term support would remain available. When concerns about sustainability grew, hesitation followed, and in the motorcycle world, hesitation is enough to slow momentum. As the years passed, the brand's identity grew stronger among its owners, but thinner across the broader market. Riders who believed in the machines stayed loyal, but new riders gravitated toward more familiar names, unsure whether a brand without decades of history could stay the course. When production finally ceased, it left a mark that still lingers today. The machines did not vanish from the road. They continue to appear in rallies, on long hauls, and in small towns where riders take pride in keeping them alive. But the truth is clear. Victory remains a brand that deserved a longer road than it received. What follows is a reminder that even a legendary American name can feel the strain of a tightening market. Number 4. Indian. Some names carry a weight that echoes through generations, long before a rider ever turns a key, long before the highways were carved across the country, and long before the touring culture took shape. The name was already being spoken with a kind of reverence. It stood at the very beginning of the story, when motorcycles were little more than raw steel, narrow tires, and a daring spirit that pushed riders across unpaved ground. That early legacy built a foundation that would follow the brand through every rise, fall, and revival that came afterward. Even today, riders who value tradition and authenticity recognize that Indian carries a lineage that cannot be duplicated by marketing departments or modern trend chasing. The brand's long history becomes part of the riding experience itself. When a rider sees the name on a tank, it is not just a label, but a reminder of the earliest racing battles, cross-country attempts, and engineering ideas forged in workshops that relied on skill more than machinery. Generations of riders have looked to Indian as proof that American motorcycling was never meant to be defined by a single company or a single vision. Instead, it has always been a landscape shaped by competition, inspiration, and hard-earned innovation. Indian contributed to that shaping powerfully, and its influence still stretches across the culture even during years when the brand's presence seemed uncertain. When Indian returned to the modern market, it carried the weight of expectation that only a century-old legacy can create. Riders knew the name, understood the history, and wanted to believe in a revival that felt genuine. They did not want an imitation of the past, nor did they want a hollow echo of heritage. They wanted a brand that would honor what came before while building something strong enough to matter now. That expectation was met with machines that held their place with confidence and bold design. The presence of an Indian in a parking lot or at a rally often drew attention not through flash, but through the quiet authority of a name that had outlasted time. Still, even a brand as storied as Indian must face the realities of the modern marketplace. The pressures placed on motorcycle companies today are not the pressures of decades past. Rider demographics shift. Dealership networks adapt or tighten. Regional markets rise and fall based on factors far outside the control of any manufacturer. Indian continues to exist within that environment, working to keep its identity clear and its place in the culture strong. The challenge is not in the machines themselves, but in maintaining the broad support structure that allows riders across the country to feel confident choosing a brand they expect to rely on for many years. For older riders especially, Indian represents more than a choice of machine. It speaks to independence, to diversity within the American motorcycle landscape, and to the idea that legacy is earned over time rather than granted by default. Choosing an Indian often symbolizes a desire to step slightly outside the familiar, while still remaining rooted in the values that shaped American riding culture. It reflects an appreciation for history, mechanical integrity, and long-distance comfort without unnecessary complication. Riders who gravitate toward Indian tend to value a blend of tradition and strength that stands apart from the more common silhouettes found on the road. Even as some regions experience dealership changes or shifting rider demand, the core of the brand remains intact. Indian's identity was forged long before modern sales charts existed, and it continues to speak to riders who appreciate a machine with genuine historical weight behind it. When an Indian rolls down the road, it carries echoes of the early years of American motorcycling, reminding anyone watching that the story began long before the present era. That sense of continuity gives the brand a presence far larger than any temporary market fluctuation. Indian's ability to endure, adapt, and reappear across different eras reveals something essential about its character. It has faced challenges that would have ended lesser brands and has returned with renewed strength each time. Riders who understand that history see more than a motorcycle when they look at the name. They see endurance, perseverance, and a reflection of the values that have shaped American riding culture for more than a century. For those riders, the importance of Indian extends far beyond style or performance. It lies in the spirit the brand has carried through generations, a spirit that continues to hold meaning on today's roads. The road ahead leads to a brand facing an entirely different kind of pressure distance itself. If you're finding value in this breakdown, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your thoughts and experiences matter here, so share what these changes mean for you. It helps keep real riders' voices at the center. Number 3. Moto Guzzi. Every now and then, a motorcycle brand stands apart not through volume or power, but through pure identity. The brand has always walked its own road, shaped by ideas that never bowed to outside pressure. It reflects the thinking of engineers who believed motorcycles should feel alive in their own way, with character that does not apologize for being different. Riders who understand the deeper soul of motorcycling have always felt a quiet respect for the name, even if they have never owned one. It represents a kind of mechanical independence that is becoming rare in a world where machines often feel designed by committees. Throughout its long history, the brand kept its focus on creating machines that blend mechanical honesty with timeless road presence. The engines were positioned in ways that made anyone stop and take notice. Not because they were flashy, but because they were a declaration of identity. Nothing about the brand was ever meant to imitate anything else. It carried its own rhythm, its own heartbeat, its own sense of balance. Riders who chose it often did so because they wanted something beyond the familiar silhouettes that dominate American highways. They wanted a machine that reminded them of a different era, one where motorcycles were built with distinctive ideas rather than shared blueprints. Many riders in the United States looked at the brand with admiration from a distance. They respected its approach. They appreciated the way the machines were crafted, the way they sounded, the way they handled, and the way they held on to traditions that went back generations. But admiration alone does not sustain a brand in a country as large and spread out as this one. American riders value support, reliability of service, and a wide network that ensures they can keep a machine on the road without long detours or complicated logistics. This is where the brand's greatest challenge began to show. The map of support inside the United States has always been thinner for this brand than for others. Riders could admire the machines, but when the nearest point of service sat hundreds of miles away, practicality often overshadowed passion. A motorcycle is more than an object of desire. It is a tool for long roads, for freedom, for travel, and for confidence in every mile. If a rider begins to question whether help will be available when needed, the hesitation becomes heavy. And once hesitation enters the mind, the choice becomes harder to justify, no matter how strong the admiration may be. Even so, the brand never compromised the values that defined it. It continued to build machines with integrity and personality, staying true to the principles that shaped its early decades. Riders who owned one often spoke about the connection they felt, a connection grounded in the uniqueness of the engineering and the richness of the brand's legacy. They described rides that felt different from anything else on the road, not in a dramatic sense, but in a deeply mechanical one. The machine required attention, understanding, and appreciation. It rewarded riders who approached it with patience and respect, offering a sense of partnership rather than mere operation. Loyalty to the brand remains strong among riders who understand its essence, yet the broader American market now favors convenience, access, and large dealership networks. As expectations shift, craftsmanship-driven companies find their space narrowing. For older riders who remember when motorcycles varied wildly in character, the brand recalls a time when individuality was mechanical truth. That spirit survives, but within a smaller circle of devoted riders who continue to value its distinct identity on the open road today and beyond. Moto Guzzi stands as a testament to the power of identity in motorcycling, but it also illustrates how identity alone cannot overcome the demands of an evolving market. Its presence in the United States continues to shift, not because the machines lack soul or capability, but because the support structure required in such a vast country has struggled to match the passion of the riders who love the name. Attention shifts toward a company whose charm runs deep, yet whose reach across American soil remains fragile. Quick break. The gear and accessories I trust are linked in the description. Check them out, and let's keep going. Number 2. Royal Enfield. In a world shaped by fast machines and long miles, one brand has always moved to a different rhythm. Its history reaches into the early years of motorcycling, when machines were simple, when expectations were modest, and when the entire experience centered on the connection between rider and road. The brand was never known for brute force or towering displacement. Instead, it built its identity around durability, simplicity, and the kind of steady, unhurried riding that reminded people why they first fell in love with two wheels. That history still matters, especially to riders who appreciate machines that do not need to shout to earn respect. When the brand found its way into the American market, it carried a certain charm that stood apart from the heavyweight touring machines that dominate the highways. Riders who wanted something different, something grounded in an older rhythm, were drawn to the style. The machines were approachable, welcoming, and mechanically straightforward. They offered a riding experience that felt rooted in the past, without losing connection to the present. For some riders, the appeal was immediate. Royal Enfield represented a return to simplicity in an age where many motorcycles seemed determined to become more complicated every single year. Yet charm alone does not guarantee a stable foothold in a country as vast and demanding as the United States. Royal Enfield entered a market defined by long distances, heavy loads, cross-country travel, and riders who expect a machine to handle season after season without hesitation. American riders value reliability, service availability, and confidence that help will be close when needed. These expectations shape how every brand is judged. And Royal Enfield faced a challenge the moment it stepped into this territory. Its machines were not built for high-speed interstate miles or 1,000-mile days across long stretches of open ground. They were intended for a different rhythm, one not always aligned with American riding culture. As the years passed, the brand worked to strengthen its identity here, expanding its model range, updating designs, and improving refinement. Riders began to notice the changes, and many appreciated the effort. But the lingering perception remained that Royal Enfield was a brand best suited for shorter rides, urban environments, and relaxed weekend cruising. Older riders who grew up with heavyweight machines often respected the brand, but viewed it as a secondary option rather than a primary tool for serious travel. The machines looked good, carried history, and offered affordability. But they did not always match the demands of riders accustomed to long-distance comfort and strong torque delivery. Alongside these cultural expectations, the brand faced another challenge: the shifting landscape of dealership support. Some regions embraced Royal Enfield with steady enthusiasm. Others struggled to maintain momentum. When dealerships closed or shifted focus, riders noticed. A brand's strength in the United States depends on the confidence it can give to riders who want clear and dependable service. Without that foundation, even a well-loved machine can feel like a risk. Royal Enfield found itself in a position where it had to rebuild confidence in certain regions, reminding riders that the brand intended to stay and support those who chose its machines. The emotional connection to the brand remains strong among riders who value its heritage, seeing it as a reminder of patience, simplicity, and mechanical honesty. Its machines encourage a slower, grounded pace that recalls the early days of exploration, attracting those who prefer a personal feel over corporate polish. Yet, that admiration has limits in a market demanding greater power and comfort. The brand continues refining build quality and reliability while preserving its identity, but earning a lasting place in the United States remains challenging. Its tradition-centered approach offers unique value, though its broader appeal is still uncertain for now. Royal Enfield stands today as a reminder that not every motorcycle must be defined by size, speed, or technological complexity. It represents a quieter, humbler kind of riding, one that still appeals to those who appreciate authenticity and history. But the realities of the American market have placed the brand in a narrow channel, admired for its charm, yet challenged by expectations it was never designed to meet. The story grows sharper as we turn to a builder chasing progress in a country that demands far more than good intentions. If you want to stay ahead of every major shift hitting the motorcycle world, make sure you subscribe. This channel exists to keep riders informed with straightforward truth, history, and perspective that actually respects your miles and your experience on the road. Number 1. Zero. No shift in modern motorcycling has created more debate than the rise of the silent
motorcycles. Thanks
The brand
for
arrived
watching,
with the
follow
promise
me,
of a
and
new
don't
future,
forget
one
share
where
your
silent
experience
torque
and
and
opinion.
instant power could redefine the riding experience. For many riders around the world, that idea held real appeal. The technology felt bold, the concept felt modern, and for a moment it seemed possible that electric motorcycles could claim a meaningful space beside the long-established names that have shaped riding culture for more than a century. Yet in a country where distance, tradition, and mechanical identity all matter deeply, Zero found itself fighting an uphill battle from the first mile. The brand built machines that delivered strong acceleration, smooth control, and a riding feel unlike anything gasoline engines could offer. For new riders drawn to the idea of simplicity, the appeal was clear. No shifting, no maintenance schedules defined by oil and filters, no vibration, no heat rolling off the frame on long summer days. Everything about the machines was designed to communicate ease, quiet confidence, and modern precision. But for many seasoned riders, especially those raised on the rumble and rhythm of traditional engines, that silence felt more like absence than evolution. Riding for them had always been a sensory experience shaped by sound, feel, and the mechanical heartbeat pulsing beneath the seat. Without that heartbeat, the machine felt unfamiliar. The challenge deepened as riders looked beyond the immediate experience and considered the realities of long-term ownership. Zero asked riders to adopt a new way of thinking about range, recharge times, and battery life cycles. For urban riders and commuters, these trade-offs were manageable. But for riders accustomed to long distances, cross-state travel, and weekend escapes that start before sunrise and end long after sunset, the limitations became difficult to ignore. A motorcycle built for short hops cannot easily replace one meant to devour miles. Even those curious about electric power often found themselves hesitating when they compared the freedom they knew to the structure required by charging schedules. Another obstacle emerged from the nature of the technology itself. Electric systems require specialized knowledge, specialized tools, and specialized training. Traditional mechanics who spent decades rebuilding carburetors, tuning fuel systems, and diagnosing combustion engines could not easily step into the role of electric technicians without significant investment. Many dealerships hesitated. Some stepped back entirely. And as the number of qualified service centers remained limited, riders began to question what would happen if something went wrong hundreds of miles from the nearest specialist. Confidence is vital in motorcycling, and any doubt about long-term support can place a shadow over even the most advanced machine. The brand continued to push forward, refining its technology and updating its lineup. It worked to improve components, increase range, and modernize design. The machines grew more capable each year. Yet despite these improvements, Zero faced the reality that the American motorcycle market values tradition and durability as much as innovation. Riders who built their identity around the open road felt cautious. They appreciated the engineering, but they questioned whether a silent machine could ever replace the deep connection formed through decades of gasoline-powered travel. For many older riders, the sound of an engine is not noise. It is memory, history, and identity woven together. Economic pressures added another layer of difficulty. The cost of advanced electric technology remained higher than many riders were willing to pay for a motorcycle that did not align with their needs. Riders who could afford premium machines often chose brands with long-established reputations, expansive support networks, and a mechanical soul they could feel in their chest. Riders who sought affordability gravitated toward simple gasoline machines that offered proven reliability. Zero found itself caught between these groups, appealing strongly to a narrow segment, but struggling to reach the broader audience required for long-term stability. Zero represents a pivotal moment in modern motorcycling, forcing the industry to face a future that may not resemble its past. It proved that electric torque can thrill, that silence can hold power, and that engineering can move in bold, new directions. Riders who embraced it praised the smoothness, immediacy, and ease that traditional engines cannot match. Yet, admiration alone cannot overcome American expectations for range, support, reliability, comfort, and heritage. The brand stands as a symbol of progress, respected for ambition, but still struggling to secure a foothold beside the long-established names that shaped riding culture long before electric power emerged. At the end of the day, these changes aren't just headlines, they're warnings. When brands pull back, riders feel it first in parts shortages, service delays, and dropping resale. That's why staying informed matters now more than ever. I want to hear from you. Have you seen dealership cuts or shrinking inventory in your area? Drop your experience down in the comments. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button so more riders can see it. And make sure you subscribe, because this channel will keep telling the truth about what's really happening in the motorcycle world.